The gaslighting will never end.
Hey, Aiden, Ghastly Goodies is spelled wrong in the game.
Yeah, it
Not
should be called
something you
should
can
be called
change.
Gaslight Goodies.
Gaslight Goodies.
Hey.
Is that better? Is that how it's supposed to be spelled?
Haunted.
HAUNTYCAST.
Jack should be here for this.
It's the overly British version. Yeah.
HAUNTYCAST.
Okay.
That's perfect.
Anyway, so this is Ghastly Goodies by Serades with featuring music by Nathan Hanover, whose name I am just physically incapable of spelling.
Yep.
Is there anything that y'all would? Oh, I didn't even know this was here. I haven't seen this review. This is really cool looking. Okay, so Sai is in the chat. Nathan is in the chat. Is there anything that y'all would like to head up the stream with? Any fun facts? Occult knowledge. The game is way too loud.
I hear the music's good.
Something to say about the game.
Wait, where is it? There it is.
A lot of nothing.
I'm pretty sure all of the tabs on your desktop is just Jonathan Bald.
That's
That is
interesting.
good. Everyone should have one tab open at all times, just so that he doesn't get angry.
Yeah.
Okay, 1 second. Allow me to adjust the volume slightly. Everything is very loud in my ears. I'm still trying to work out a way to have this work out better. Chat. Is that too? That's too quiet, isn't it? Oh crap.
It is.
I am gonna have to edit this video a lot. But that's okay.
That's okay.
It's worth it to bring it to you, the people. Should we play as Pete or Sarah, chat?
Sarah, I vote Sarah.
Okay.
Sarah.
You should play as Pete. I'm a chat member.
Default, because everybody that streams it seems to just like default to not using Pete.
Oh, okay. Well, then let's play Pete.
Pete.
So we're playing Pete then, because everybody plays Sarah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, cool. So, I definitely think that this is. I know I've said this before. I think I've said this to Sai specifically, but I am absolutely in love with your visual style. I grew up playing Spyro, and.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about that at any point, you're more than welcome to. But I just wanted to say, I really, really love this style, just because of the games that I grew up with. It is so nostalgic for me. So yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
so I guess there's a thing with that that I can get into. Because if I can get Pete, I'm struggling to think of anything else to talk about.
That's okay.
I prepared nothing for this.
Understandable.
So the deal with Pete and the character in general, actually in both characters, is Pete is based on what Spyro was supposed to be originally.
Okay.
Originally he was supposed to be green, and his name was Pete, but it was changed for a couple of reasons. One being that he blended in with the grass, and the other being that
Sorry,
they didn't
quickly
want-
to butt in. The chat says that Sai's very quiet.
Oh yeah, can do.
Yeah.
1 second.
No, sorry about that.
Yeah, I was thinking that myself. Sorry. All right. Anyway, go on.
So Pete was originally, or Spyro was originally called Pete, and he was green. And long story short, they changed both of those things, and that's his character's a reference to that.
Neat. And then you said Sarah is also a reference, correct?
Yeah. So that brings up the other thing I had to say, which was this is my first horror game. I've never done anything like this before, which is why I tried to just kind of lean hard into a lot of horror tropey things, because I figured on my first go around would not be able to do something super in depth and serious and subvert those things, so I might as well lean hard into them to the point of absurdity.
Yeah.
Which is the negligent parents and the ridiculous cartoony nature of everything. And I don't know, but because this is got Pete or whatever, my original game before this that I'm still working on, Zara Miss Wigan, was actually a Spyro fan game until I got a cease and desist. So Sarah is just a reference to my own character Zara from that game. So they're both technically Spyro references, sort of.
But to be fair, the fact that you were able to create something that was worth a cease and desist is honestly kind of an achievement. I think that's super cool.
Yeah, true. The art style's so on point. I remember when I first got the DM from Sai asking me to work on the game.
No.
Seeing the pictures, you know, I couldn't really say no. You know, I grew up with, you know, playing Spyro on the early PS1 games. So
Oh man.
to see something like this, it was really cool.
Oh, Aiden, please.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm the dumbest. I know the second one is the middle rock. I was wrong.
Like,
You do know there's a hint for this, right?
No, I do remember the hint for this. I have not slept in several days. So, actually, that brings up an interesting comment
Yeah,
from
what
Pee
was
Pee Poo Poo Dum Dum, who asks if these rocks are a reference to the solution to the puzzle. And the answer is...
Yes. Yes, they are.
And I read them knowing that and said, hey, this is the
What if I
right
just
solution to
didn't?
the puzzle, right? And then I was wrong because I immediately misremembered all of them. I think that there's definitely something interesting to the way that you kind of telegraph the puzzles in this game. Because I remember like when I was helping you playtest this that I had glossed over something that was super important, just thinking that it wasn't. And it was like I was like, oh, you know, once I figured it out, I was like, oh my god, I'm so stupid. And I can tell you right now that I'm gonna try and have to, like, I'm gonna have to keep, you know, like, keep an eye out for that because I've already forgotten the answer to the puzzle. But I'll keep an eye out for it. But it's really interesting because it's like, you know, the puzzles are like telegraphed in such a way that it makes perfect sense in context if you're looking for it. But then it's like, you know, oh, I hit the wrong button. I've also been streaming for 4 hours, so my brain's a little bit garbage right now.
yeah, it's all good.
Alright, Groundskeeper's note. Accidentally buried the bolt cutters instead of who owned them. Hope you didn't need them. So we're looking for somebody who would have bolt cutters. That would not be that guy, probably.
I love the names on the gravestones. The little puns are so funny.
Yeah, this game is full of like little bits of personality, and I think it
Great,
really
isn't it?
adds to
Yeah.
the aesthetic.
The writing originally was just like, because again, I had never done anything like this, and I didn't really have any plans for it starting off, other than just trying to do something horror. So I initially just put in like just really basic text prompts for things like that, and then as the game progressed,
Oh crap, it's coming, it's coming.
as the game progressed, though, I like got more. I noticed the writing started to get more sarcastic and just more me. So I started to go back and rewrite the rest of the dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah. The monster design is really good. I love how the music changes. When I when I designed the dynamic music in this, it was really exciting to do.
Yeah.
Like this track has like the the Watcher sting, which you'll hear in a moment. And it was a really cool task to like undergo, like writing the music to keep it interesting enough that it can change without running out of ideas. And I think for the demo, I think my favorite is the next level's music.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was essentially writing 3 tracks in one, because you have like the different variants,
You
different
pulled it off
stages.
really well, though. It's
Thank
my
you,
favorite
thank
part
you.
of the game. Honestly, it's in that area.
yeah.
Just because, like the room beforehand where it changes, and then where
Oh
it
shit,
changes
oh shit,
again.
oh shit.
Yeah, it's really good. The cutscene really helps blend it in.
Oh lord, he's coming.
This was also the first project, fun little piece of trivia, where I used a new set of string instruments. I recently upgraded my equipment on Black Friday, and this was the first project that I used these new instruments. And I think it really helps the sound.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it sounds realistic, but it sounds very PlayStation, and that's because I deliberately gave the instruments a very dry room to play in. So it has that very reverbless sound.
Almost like it's gated, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That's really interesting. Yeah, it's
A lot of sound fonts from that era are kind of like very dry. I
Yeah,
wanna
that
say.
was the point. Yeah, like I didn't use sound fonts for this, but I tried to replicate that sound while keeping.
No, it's just
professional.
like definitely the style they seem to.
No, absolutely, yeah.
I don't know why. Maybe if it was just coming off of like the era when things were like MIDI, and that was just how it was. So they didn't like do.
If I remember my thesis right, the PlayStation 1 had the ability to do actual MIDI and sounds, but it only had a basic reverb, which was very dry.
For reference, this was the puzzle that I had a ton of trouble with for like no particular reason. Like once I knew how to
puzzle
solve it.
has stumped everybody, and I've changed it so many times now.
Yeah.
And I actually just changed it again for this updated version to make it more colorblind friendly.
Oh yeah. That's something I hadn't even thought about. So
CodeKitten, part of our lovely community, and also somebody who had played the demo after it came out was like, "Hey, so this is color-based puzzle. I'm colorblind," and I was like, fuck me.
Accessibility options are so important.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do, like how to solve it, or attempt to even solve it when Alessa had brought it up, and then when I was reminded of it again, when somebody else commented after it had come out, I was like, fuck. And then I had an idea, like, okay, well, what if I've gone through and tried to make the hints more specific anyways? I could just say what color all the buttons are, and saying what color the lights are in the hints, so that even if you can't see the colors on the buttons or the lights, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you could you're doing it through like reading essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even just
Figured out
having
what
the objective, like the facts that you need to like solve the puzzle laid out in front of you is definitely helpful in terms of conveyance too for like the puzzle itself.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. I think it made it easier that it specifically points out the color of the light just in general. Trying to figure out this puzzle.
I think that was something we came up with while I was playtesting it, if I remember correctly, because I remember specifically being like, "Oh, these lights are important, but I can't." Like, I didn't know why. I thought it was, whoa, spooky.
Should get eaten.
Oh, do you want me to get eaten? I can get eaten.
Yeah, it's my favorite part of.
It's a great room.
Yeah, yeah, I was gonna say that I definitely got Oh.
Fun little bit of trivia for the basement level. Originally, I was going to put a little Easter egg in the music. I was going to have a picture of one of the ghost in a like a little sound clip. To which, if you played the music through a spectrogram, you'd see the ghost in the actual audio.
Oh, that's so cool! I like that a lot.
It was too on the nose. It sounded like a chainsaw. So it's like,
it sounds like a chainsaw. It's kind of interesting, to be fair.
yeah.
I also a person who listens to harsh
play,
noise music, so I definitely am not the best judge of character when it comes to that kind of thing.
Yeah.
In terms of like hiding stuff in like stuff like that, it's really difficult to pull off unless you do electronic music, because hiding like images in audio makes it sound like actual shit, because
it does, yeah.
Too much noise, there's too much data for the sound.
Which can work in electronic music, but then when you have something like this, it's like it's completely out of left field, and it's maybe later on in the game.
Oh, spookums!
So that was the end of the demo, but it's any chance I could show one thing, Aiden? I sent you a DM with it.
Yes.
A lot of players, when I've seen them play it, they don't get to the ending section of the basement music. And my favorite track in the demo is the chase version of the basement. It has this really nice like climax. I sent you the WAV via DMs. I'm wondering if you could actually play it through for the stream.
Yeah, absolutely. Hold on, let me turn off the Ghastly Goodies sound so that y'all can hear that real quick.
While you get that set up, I want to quickly let the viewers know that the Ghastly Goodies demo soundtrack releases tomorrow. There's YouTube links all prepared. It's exclusively on my Bandcamp until the game releases.
That's cool.
And obviously, when the game releases, I'll remove it and release the full soundtrack. But the incentive to buy the demo soundtrack is all buyers get a 50% discount code for when the actual full soundtrack releases.
Oh, that's
Awesome.
cool. Okay.
Which is gonna have a lot more tracks on it.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. I'll quickly get the link.
Yeah, do you have the
Yeah.
link? Yeah, grab the links and we'll drop it in chat.
And while you get that
Absolutely.
link, I'll give them I'll give our audience a nice sampling of what is to
Excellent.
come. So let me know if you can hear this. If not, this is going to be a long silence. So chat, please do tell me if please do tell me if you can hear
I'll
this.
check as well.
All right, here we go. It's gonna be silence for y'all. You'll probably only be able to hear it on the stream, but
Yeah, I've
let's
got stream
give
up.
this a shot.
Yeah, they can.
Okay, cool.
I was gonna say, not to talk over the music, but because I was just realizing, like, I basically said a whole lot of nothing about the game.
That's okay.
It's just, I was struggling to think of something. I'm sweating now.
You gotta hit us with all this information right at the end. So
Yeah, all the important things that I didn't say ever during the actual playthrough of the game.
So, yeah,
I
absolutely.
don't
If you'd like to take a moment to collect yourself, you have 10 seconds before the end of the clip.
Fuck. But yeah, so there's a lot of things with this that was just fun to try out, being that it was my first horror game. Because I come from doing very cute 3D platformer collectathon type shit, which you could see a lot of in this. But I don't know. It was just an experience to do something different like this, and was very much inspired by the people around me in the Haunted PS1 community.
Yeah.
So I originally joined. I never thought I was actually going to make anything like this. I was just very interested because it was a community of people doing PSX stuff, like me. Very different PSX stuff, but it just intrigued me too much to not try and get into something like this. But being that I had no knowledge of stuff like this, I'm uncultured when it comes to horror. I've seen very few movies, played very few classic games, things like that. I don't even play newer games because I'm a big baby. So this was a fun experiment so far, and I don't know, the idea is just sort of pouring in once I had gotten on, like, bored with just the first little bit of it. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
No, I get you. I really think that, like, especially for a first attempt at horror, I think that going for something that is, like, very much within your wheelhouse in terms of style was definitely a very good decision, because, like, it's not like, oh, I'm a guy who makes platformers and I wanted to make something scary and then it just, like, comes off kind of weird and disingenuous. Like, you can tell that there was, like, so much love put into this game and that you really, like, have a grasp on the style. And I think that that's really, like, a really cool first step, is to just kind of take your own style and you know, kind of throw yourself into the deep end of like something new. Which is why I think that Ghastly Goodies is like one of the really neat projects in terms of like watching it grow and change as you kind of like come into your own as a horror developer on top of, you know, you're
I'm
like,
really excited for the direction it's going to go in.
yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
the way I structured this out gives me so many opportunities to do just all kinds of weird shit with the game. Putting it under like this sort of cutesier look too also gives me some added benefits. One being that as the game progresses, it's going to get creepier and weirder, and it'll also be nice because it'll go alongside me learning horror developments. Like, the further into it I go, and it kind of disarms a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because they're not expecting it to get as gruesome as it does,
Yeah, for
or
sure.
as tense as it does at times.
Yeah.
Which is very much to my advantage with like the basement ghost.
Oh yeah, the lamprey is deeply upsetting, I must say.
Nobody sees that death animation coming, or
Yeah.
just for teeth in general, and like the chase music and everything, and it's, you know, it's very fun, and like, I don't know, I was basically trying to develop this as like an outsider's perspective, like outsider looking in on horror, like trying to just boil everything down, because again, there's no idea what I'm doing with this genre up until this point, and I still know very little. I just tried to like, and this almost sounds cynical, like try to boil horror games down into their most generic aspects and the most like reproducible sort of things to try and come up with an idea for this.
Yeah.
I noticed there's a lot of things with like, especially in classic games, there's like there's generally like a solitary, like singular main location that they use and get a lot of like use out of. So that's what led me to pick, okay, haunted house, because again, I was trying to lead hard into the most generic, cartoony sort of horror tropey things, and nothing fits better with this kind of like cartoony vibe than a haunted house on Halloween.
Yeah, no, and I think that that's really cool. It definitely reminds me of like early horror cinema too, where it was just very much this kind of, it's like you look back on like early silent film horror, and it feels very dramatic and kind of. I don't want to say self-absorbed, but it definitely feels like a product of its time, and and it's interesting to me to see a horror game that kind of leans into the same. Things where it's like it is very fundamentally like a kind of analysis of horror as a genre, rather than being like something like Salt Order, where it's all based around one concept, or my game where it's based around like existential fear. It's just like pure like classic horror, and I think that that's a really strong.
I didn't know how else to go about it. I was just like, if I'm gonna do this, I have to just lean in hard on this, because I don't know what I'm doing with the genre, so it's like I had to just kind of break it down in the most simplest form that I possibly could for myself to be able to progress on it. Like, I needed basic plot. What is the character doing? Why are they there? Trick or treating. Simple, easy. Makes perfect sense in the realm of something cartoony and goofy.
It gives a very Mario feel, very Nintendo feel, but the story's sort of taking a back seat while the gameplay does the work. Similar of how like Mario Odyssey, the story is to rescue Peach, but you've got all the things in the middle that fill up that time.
Yeah,
it's very nice.
And even then, the gameplay for this is extremely simple too. A lot of the time, you're literally just
running around. Yeah.
This probably sounds kind of cynical in regards to like my analysis of horror, but I notice a lot of times, even in classic games, there's a lot of like essentially key hunting. Whether or not you're actually going for a key, you are essentially trying to. It's like if you boil it down to its most basic form, a lot of the times you're trying to just move through and progress in an area that you're constantly frequenting back and forth.
Yeah, Resident Evil is very much like that. Yeah.
And it's like they get a lot of mileage out of this singular location, which I think you have to do in something like a horror game. Like, I think it's necessary. You're not just constantly making set piece after set piece and like all these different areas and scoping crazily. So I noticed that they did that. So then this whole like haunted house thing was like, all right, that's perfect for that. And it also brought with it like even more ideas, because I was like, all right, well, if I have this outside area, I have you go into the basement, I can actually just split this off layer by layer of the house and have like let me pick generic sort of horror monster kind of things and put them in. So I went with like the Watchers and a ghost in the basement kind of thing. And I like that I did this because I can do something different for each level of the house and also theme the house differently.
For sure.
Almost like Luigi's Mansion kind of, in some regards.
Yeah.
Oh man, I just figured it out. I was trying to like pinpoint the exact like horror aesthetic that this reminds me of, and it's Betrayal at House on the Hill. It's
I don't think I've heard that.
If it's made by the same folks who made Dungeons and Dragons, and it's essentially a procedurally generated haunted house, where you go around and you go into new rooms, and it's like each new room is a randomly selected tile from a pile of cards, and there are like cursed objects that you can find around the house, and depending on what room you're in and when you find them, and it's determined by dice roll like when the haunt goes off. But it's like depending on like, so if you're in the pentagram chamber with the knife, like you have to run around the house and sacrifice all the other players to like some god, and they have to kill you, or like you get bitten in the study and all of a sudden there's a werewolf in the house and you all have to go and fight it. And it's just very much that kind of like horror, but with the tone based on fun and like classic.
It's just kind of absurd and leans into it really hard, like
exactly.
A lot of tropey kind of stuff, which like helps me so much with this.
Yeah,
I will say I have struggled in terms of the actual horror elements of this, trying to not lean hard into too many things that I find to be really typical of a lot of like, I don't want to say run-of-the-mill, but there's a lot of run-of-the-mill stuff, like indie horror stuff that's just kind of pumped out and you see on itch, and it's like, jump scare, loud noise kind of stuff, and just trying to balance that while leaning into the absurd bullshit of my analysis of horror is like, and trying to not do that at the same time. It's been interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely think that as... Oh, sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, like, trying to do scary is weird and very different for me. And it's a difficult task too, because what scares somebody else and what gets somebody else kind of tense and excited and focused and into something very much can vary based on like, different people. But I'd like to think I've been largely successful with attempting this.
Absolutely. So I think that this is a fantastic start to a really cool project, and I'm glad you're working on it. So you're both doing such a fantastic job with this. Like it's so consistent in its atmosphere, and it's so like committed to a very specific, like it feels consistent. I think is the best way I can put it. Where it's like, you very clearly have a vision with this, and I think that's really cool. So.
Yeah, cool. I think
I'm seeing work on this with the music.
Thanks. It's been one of my favorite projects I've been doing. Like before this, I was working on a visual novel, but it's still in progress. But it's tightening up. So I've been having my work on here on Ghastly Goodies, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's really fun to work on.
I'm glad to hear it.
And it definitely makes the game significantly better for having his music, because before that, I was looking at like just using stock music, and that would not have been the same.
Yeah,
it was not the same prior.
It has a musical identity now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's got this like banjo-ish sort of like.
It's Mad Monster Mansion, isn't it? Yeah.
There's like a lot of different elements, a lot of different things that seem to be kind of mashed together, but in a cohesive way. I feel like.
Yeah.
But I think that goes with the actual gameplay and the look of it too. Not to be like jerk myself off over here about it. But, like, it's consistent and cohesive. It's like that's my proudest thing with this, because I did not expect it to turn out this way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm very horrified trying to do this.
Yeah. And I definitely think that, thank you, NAF runs for the follow. And yeah, I honestly, like, I'm very excited to see where you go with this. And I once you're finished with it or farther along, I'd love to bring you back on HAUNTYCAST to, like, play through it and kind of get your thoughts, because I think that it's a really interesting project to, like, kind of watch you grow and develop as a horror developer, so... Yeah.
I'm sorry if I've been rambling on about this.
No, you're good. This is what we're here for. It's developer commentary. I love it.
I did see a couple questions though regarding the candy collection that I wanted to answer if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Pee Pee Poo Poo Dum Dum asked about the rewards and percentages for candy collection, and one of the things I was struggling to figure out like how would handle that aspect to make the candy important, because you don't usually have like. Again, this is just something I brought over from like working on a Spyro fan game, and then what it became, Zera. Like bringing over the collectathon aspect into a horror game is weird. It's a weird combo, and so I struggled for a while to try and figure out like what the best way to handle those was to make them important. And I think they had asked a bit ago, like if you could potentially get soft locked after that first chase.
Yeah, I was actually wondering about that myself.
So the way it's laid out, I've not seen anybody do it. It technically could be possible, but you would have to go out of your way to avoid the candy on the way there, and it seems irresistible to everybody. And some of them you literally can't miss because they're in your path. But that is definitely a thing that I've thought of. And so one of the things with the candy progression is originally it was going to be that you needed to get a certain amount to pay to go to the next level at the end of each one, and that's kind of what's in the demo now at the end of the first part, with the pumpkin outside. But that has its problems like this, where like if I block you off from an area you've been to and you didn't get all the candy, you might just be completely fucked. And so with that in mind, I think the actual plan for this in the future is to rework, I guess not the candy itself or the collecting of it, it's more so just what it's used for. It won't be used to necessarily unlock things. I think it'll just progress naturally through the game. But it'll be used to save as like a limited resource that you actually collect and then eat to like spend on making a save.
Neat, okay, yeah. And I think that that's definitely a really interesting way to kind of take like collectibles and make them a little bit more. It's like having like limited film or limited ribbons or whatever in like a Resi game, where it's just it adds that little extra bit of tension. I think that's going to be super effective. So.
Yeah, and because I was thinking too, like one of the things with this, like trying to balance like the puzzles. God, I can't speak. The puzzles and like the scares and also like the deaths and how punishing things are.
Mm-hmm.
It's tricky when with the current implementation of everything. It's like there's no like saving your progress. I kind of just reset you back, which makes it very easy for a lot of people to just trial and error brute force puzzles, which is going to get more punished later on. This is all I'll say on that.
Yeah, and I think that studying the way that people play the game in order to kind of subvert their expectations, especially with puzzles and things like that, could be really interesting in terms of mechanics. So, yeah, I am very, very excited to see where this goes. Okay, so we are verging on 4 hours.